What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Links and Locks Best Bets podcast presented by Bet365. I'm Jason Sobel from the Action Network. He is Ben Everill from the PGA Tour, and we are going to play 18 holes, make 18 bets for this week's Genesis Invitational. For our regular listeners, I know it might sound like Benny and I hate each other here on the pod, but we're actually friends, and we actually just spent the entire week hanging out, mostly on the craps table late at night, Benny.
Yeah, it was a pretty good week in Phoenix, wasn't it? We did okay, hanging on out there, and enjoyed watching Scotty Scheffler just get it done once again. Look, pretty methodical, wasn't it? What he was able to do in the end. We were hoping for a big showdown there on Sunday with Rahm, and just didn't eventuate because Sheff was just putting it on the green, and throwing in the putts. So when you're that good, you're that good, but. Can he maintain it? I guess we'll find out, because this week we're at the Genesis Invitational here in my little adopted hometown, mate.
Yeah, out in LA, where I know you'll be checking out the proceedings there. We've got all of the best players in the world playing once again, all the best players on the PGA Tour, I guess I should say, playing once again at Riviera, which is one of the absolute classiest golf courses on the PGA Tour circuit. Love this one. Sad that I won't be there, but I'm not sure my I can handle another one physically after being in Scottsdale all last week, which was a great week. If we ever see you in person, we'll tell you some stories, but that's for another pod, another time. But yeah, can't wait for this one. And throw Tiger Woods into the mix as well. Tiger's odds have been moving all over the place, and not in a preferential way towards him. So they have been ballooning. We will get into some Tiger odds as we start making our bets. But Benny, let's get right to it. 18 holes, 18 bets. You are on the first tee at Riviera, which means at least you're going downhill. You can't, you'll at least advance this one.
Oh, yes, I'm ready to go here. And look, as always, I'm going to give a winner. And despite being bitten on the backside last week by this gentleman, I am going back to the well. Well rested after not making the cut last week. Collin Morikawa is a pick for me this week, because Bet365 too, boosting him to plus 2,500 from 2,000 if you go down the Morikawa route. They are not as confident as I am that he can bounce back and play well. He was runner-up at Riviera before. And I feel, again, elite ball striking. It's the type of course where you do not have to be the best putter on tour to do well. You've got the power in it, and as long as you're hitting enough greens and making a fair amount of your putts, you're going to be right up there. So with the boost there to 2,500, and the fact that he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder from missing that cut and well rested from the weekend, I am going to go back to the well for Collin Morikawa.
He was my pick last week. He was not far off. You and I walked a few holes with him during the Wednesday Pro-Am, and the swing looked good. His demeanor was fantastic. We just sat there hanging out with him. It was great. Can I give this up, Benny?
Sure, mate. Go for
it. You were trying to shoot a little video of him, and you go, "Come on, Collin, I need you to flush one. Give me a good one." He's, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And the next one, he absolutely flushed. And he turned around. He's like, "Was that good? How was that?" I mean, it's just. He's just a nice guy, we just had a good time. We're watching him. The swing looks really good. The wedge play around the greens, the putting was not as good as it's been for Collin. But yes, I agree. I like a bounce back this week. That's a good number for him. I don't mind a play on Morikawa there, but for the second hole, I am going to go with an Australian just because I want to get to him before you do. Adam Scott absolutely loves this golf course. Classy player, classy golf course. They've always fit each other ever since he was the unofficial winner of the 36-hole weather shortened event back in 2005. He's had 7 top 10s and 14 career starts at 55-1. I think it's a great number. And quite honestly, Ben, I've been looking at Adam for the last year and a half as a guy that his performance has probably exceeded his results. And what I mean by that is he's played well enough to win somewhere and hasn't just quite gotten the big time result, but wouldn't surprise me if it came here once again.
Yeah, I'll get to Adam a little later on as we go down the board. But yeah, I'll tell you another thing. It's a small thing, but it's something. The fact that he's his mate and contemporary Justin Rose just won is another reason that Adam Scott will be fired up to do well.
Good call.
Let's go to the third hole then. And all right, let's just get into it. Tiger, right? Like people are going to want to get into Tiger bets. I want to love Tiger. I do love Tiger. I want him to do well. It'd be phenomenal though if he made the cut. So look, if I'm thinking about going anywhere near Tiger, it's that he won't make the weekend. And you know what? It'd be one of those bets that you put down, and if it doesn't come off, you're not that upset. You're not that upset. So that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning towards whatever the number you can find on miss the cut. Unfortunately, that's where you've got to look for Tiger. It's ballooning out. You get it 150, 180, 200 to 1 for him to win this thing. I mean, look, dare to dream, but I can't see it happening. I'd love it to happen. I'd be the first to admit that I wrote him off if he was able to win this week. But look, it's sometimes, we all are a little self-deprecating with our picks sometimes. This would be one of those ones where I'm going to pick him just so I hope he does well, because he'll go against me and I'll, and whatever it is. So look, I can only advocate miscut, but I hope I'm way wrong.
Yeah, by the way, one odds maker told me that on Friday, after Tiger committed to this event, he opened up with missed cut odds for Tiger at minus 155, saw immediate action, moved the line to minus 170, then minus 250, and finally minus 300, all in the span of about 5 hours. So, Benny, you are not the only one on Tiger to miss the cut. I'm going to go with a Tiger fade, but a different one. It is currently 5:41 a.m. Pacific time as we're speaking and recording this podcast, Benny. I have not seen tee times. You are privy to more PGA Tour information than I am. Have you seen any tee times on where Tiger might be?
Look, my understanding is Tiger will play in the afternoon on Thursday. And on Thursday, he will most likely play with good friend Justin Thomas and Rory McIlroy. And they will be in the afternoon featured group on Thursday at this time, subject to change, but that is the action at the moment, that he'll be in the TV window on Thursday and then early morning Friday with those two players. So again, afternoon, we'll see.
That surprises me, Benny. I would have thought that, and let's face it, as the tournament host, Tiger can sort of call his own shots here. And I would have thought he'd want the extra rest and go out early Thursday and then be able to go late Friday.
This is the cynic in me thinking, again, Tiger would have the choice here. We are going to have 130 plus players. We sometimes have daylight issues here. I think Tiger wants to be done by Friday if he's going to be done. If that makes sense. If he's going to be done, he wants to be done by Friday. And if he's not, he's ready to rumble. Look, whichever way it goes, he's going to have to figure it out. But you're right, he's gone for the back-to-back rounds, I guess. I'm not sure. Yeah, and look, we'll see him. We'll see him today. We'll talk to him today, and we'll have that answer. People will have that answer when they listen to the pod. But as it stands now, and it could change in the next 6 hours or whatever before they release it, that's where he's slated to go. And so the Bet365, plus or minus, it's position 80 for Tiger. I'm still thinking below.
All right. Well, as I get to the fourth hole here, this was largely based on my thought that he would have an early tee time on Thursday. It's a little chilly. Maybe the back's a little tight, but even with an afternoon tee time, I will take the over on 73.5 as a round one score for Tiger Woods. I don't love it as much in the afternoon as I did in the morning, but still, first competitive round back. Look, our expectations should be very low for Tiger this week. I think his own expectations are low for himself. I think it's great that he's teeing it up. First time in a non-major in about 16 months, but we shouldn't expect him to go out there and just start firing birdies everywhere. This is essentially a spring training game for Tiger. Hopefully he can play one more before we get to Augusta, and then he feels healthy. He's got those competitive juices flowing. He's got those reps, as he likes to call them, going into the major championship season.
Yeah, 100%. Look, again, I'm happy to be proven wrong here, for sure and certain. But he's just getting things back under his belt, isn't he? And look, and the other thing to remember is He's never won at Riviera. It's the one course where he's played multiple times on tour that he hasn't been able to win. So even if he was at full fitness, deciding whether he would win this week would be still up for grabs. It will still be up in the air. So just
Yep.
let's temper expectation and hopefully be surprised is what I'd like to say.
Yep.
All right, so there's 4 holes down. Let's go to top 10 play. Now, Riviera can be a place that obviously can reward any type of player as long if you've got your accuracy, right? You don't have to be stupid long. You don't have to be anything specific. So this is a time where I'm feeling like I'm going to go to Matt Fitzpatrick at plus 360 for a top 10. A good number for me for a guy that's won a US Open, shown how accurate he can be. I saw the number 360 and thought, you know what? Matt Fitzpatrick can play well here. He has in the past. I believe he was T5 last year. So a top 10 at plus 360, the number intrigued me.
So I love this golf course for Fitzpatrick. I don't love him right now. There's a little consternation going on last week. There was something going on with Fitzpatrick, and I don't know what it was, but he was not happy with himself, not happy with his own game. I don't think he's quite where he wants to be right now. And so for me, he's still a fade until we see a little bit more. It wasn't terrible during the week, but it certainly wasn't great. So I'm gonna take a little wait and see on him. For my 6th hole, I'm gonna go with a top 5 on a guy who, quite frankly, and we don't see many players undervalued in the marketplace anymore. The odds makers are smart, the public's smart. I mean, the numbers are what they are. I don't think everyone quite realizes just how good Sungjae Im really is.
Yeah.
This is a guy who should probably be priced at the same level as a Patrick Cantlay, as a Collin Morikawa, as a Xander Schauffele, and he's still in a tier that's just a little below them. For that reason, first of all, I love him in matchups against some of those guys. And secondly, I really like finding some props where he's got a little bit more value than they do. I'm taking him for a top 5 at Bet365. He is plus 600. I think that's a really good number for Sungjae, who's finished in the top 5, top 10 at least, I think in each of his last 2 starts. And they were, let's see, one of those was the top 5. I think one was a 6th place finish. But in any case, you get what I'm saying. He's been really close. He's playing well. He's trending in the right direction.
Yeah, look, I'm never going to go against International President's Cup team member, mate. You know that. So, again, a ball striker that could absolutely fire at Riviera if he gets his best game in order. Top 5 for me, then. Top 5 for me. I'll go to the guy that you just can't ignore. You can use him in your outrights as well. He's very close to being my first hold this week. Winner the last 2 times he's played in California this season. Max Homa, top 5 plus 450. He's won the event before. Absolutely loves the joint. Literally one of his favorite courses, if not his favorite course on tour. Was a little cranky, as we saw in one of the clips last week with how he went. But the fact that he didn't contend last week actually excites me more for this week. I think he'll be a little rested. I don't think his game has fallen apart because he had a 30th place finish. I think his mind was probably somewhat thinking towards next week. And when I was actually on course with his group when we got word Tiger was within 10 minutes of announcing that he was going to play, and was walking on the 15th hole before they went into the 16th, and said to Max, "Hey, Max, guess what? The big cat said he's going to play next week." And his eyes literally lit up. His eyes literally lit up. And he was like, "Are you really?" Like he was super excited, and it sort of already got him jazzed. But and by the way, he said, "We should chair Tiger up and down the Riviera Hill, carry him up and down like a king, so that there's no issue with him getting up and down there and that massive hill at Riviera." Because that is the one thing, by the way, those stairs to go up at Riv are no joke. So hopefully Tiger goes up the cart path, or something is done.
Just hop in a cart next to the 18th green, someone drives him up there.
Yeah, I mean, I see. Obviously, you could do that between rounds. I have no idea if that's some sort of competitive edge, but it's not. Usually,
it is. You can't do it. It's a 2-shot penalty, I believe.
Yeah.
Don't do it. There's an old Guy Burrows story about it, where he was told it would be a 2-shot penalty. He sat down in the cart and said, well, it's worth it. It got driven somewhere instead.
So,
But I think Tiger's got too much pride to actually do it. I kid, but Tiger will take the stairs and he'll be fine.
but here's the one thing that they could do. They do on weeks, like at Kapalua, have the cars between holes or the shuttles between holes when it's the right time to do it. If they offer it there for every player, if it sits there at the hill, they could do it that way, but they won't because it's obviously the thoroughfare for the crowd. Just throwing that out.
It's
anyway,
very hard to get through the crowd there.
Yeah. Anyway, Max, yes, plus 450, top 5, and I think obviously he can win as well.
Yeah. Smart play. I like that. All right. 8th hole. I'm going to go with a guy who, look, if you told me 2 Canadians would be in contention going into the final round in Phoenix, I would have bet big money that one of those Canadians was Corey Connors, and it wasn't. He finished in 50th place last week. Nick Taylor was great throughout the entire weekend. Adam Hadwin fell off the pace a little bit, but almost made an ace on Sunday. Fell to his knees when it didn't go in on 16. But I will go back to Corey Connors here. Top 10 at plus 750. Ball Strikers golf course. It's going to start happening very soon for Connors, and I want to be on it when it does.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you know what? I was going to come to this guy later, but I'll throw in my little Canadian play. Again, based on the form more than anything else. We talked about Hadwin, and look, he struggled a little on the weekend. But at Bet365, I see that for better than 52nd places, you can get the minus 120. I think Adam Hadwin is in a good enough form to stay within the top 52 at Riviera this week. And I liked him as the outsider there. I liked the positional move for Adam Hadwin to continue some of his form, make the cut at Riviera and stay inside the top 52. So I saw enough good things. I watched a lot of golf, the groups that he was in because of where he was and who he was playing with. And I feel like any of the struggles were more about like being in contention and a little nerves than they were to do with his swing, etc. So I'm going to say that he can definitely finish in the top 52 for the 9th hole.
I've got one of those coming very soon, and I like that. Same exact number, actually, which is sort of strange, but I guess it's a player that's, he's at the same outright number as well. So in any case, as we make the turn, a reminder, the Links and Locks podcast, proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Bet $1 on any game. Get $200 for free. As we make the turn, we get to the back 9, and I am up on the 10th hole for this week's Genesis Invitational. And Penny, I'm just going to read you a little something from my column this week. Is that okay?
Yep, go for it. I haven't seen it yet, so
I've got something to read for you here. So here it goes. My podcast partner and frequent craps table companion, Ben Everill, started crowing to me in the middle of Xander Schauffele's first round last week, offering reminders that he picked him for a first round leader on the pod. It was only fitting that Benny's own Aussie mate Jason Day clipped Xander by a couple of strokes and kept him from picking a winner and continuing the self-applause. Well, I want to rub a little salt into this wound and make it hurt even more. So I'm taking Schauffele for the same bet this week. For reasons, of course, not just vengeance. He ranks 11th on the PGA Tour this season with a 68.20 round 1 scoring average, and he's broken 70 in half of his rounds at Riv over the last 2 years. So he understands what it takes to go relatively low at this golf course. And just in case you think Ben won't see this, don't worry. I plan to read this entire paragraph to him on the pod. You're welcome, Betty.
Yes. Yeah, no worries. Great stuff. Good on you, X. Look, yeah, good pick this week. I don't actually have him in my lineup, but he's on my short list here because here we go. What's last 5 times at Riv? 13th, 15th, 23rd, 15th, 9th. Another one of the courses like last week where he's knocking on the door a few times. Xander is in reasonable form. He'll have a chip on his shoulder for the mistakes he made that cost him another chance at victory in Phoenix. So not a bad play. I'll go to my first round leader then as well, and I'm going to go to one other person who I think has potential value across the board, but first round leader at 40-1 is where I'm going to start. Now, there have been some weird correlations in some years over the last decade or so where if you play well at Riv, you can then go well play at Augusta. There's,
Mhm.
players who play well at Riv have gone on and won Augusta multiple times. With that correlation, I think we have someone who in the past has been pretty good at Augusta and is starting to trend towards maybe a return to that this year. I will go first round leader on Jordan Spieth at 40-1 to have a crack at Riv. I feel like the next month is going to be very interesting because he will not be, the one of the top favorites going to Augusta National, but he could be very good value the way he's trending his game at the moment. So anyway, I think that Riviera will give us a good look at exactly how he's going. Having played so well in Phoenix, despite it not usually being a place that his game would be, he shot a 61 there. Yes, he's thrown up a few good rounds, but hasn't been able to maintain. We'll see if he can keep that form, the ball striking form we saw on the weekend, going into Riviera. So I'm going to go for the 40-1 there on Jordan Spieth and think about him across the board.
I think some special things are coming for Jordan Spieth. It's funny, I was speaking with his caddy, Michael Greller, before the opening round last week, and he said, all of us critics in the media and the public, of course, we can't see the forest through the trees because all of the top players in the world say, what do they tell us all the time? I'm trying to peak 4 times a year. I want to peak for the major championships. And then it's mid-February and a player hasn't peaked yet. And we're like, what's wrong with so-and-so?
Yeah.
Well, maybe they just haven't peaked yet, which is exactly what they're trying to do. And so Spieth was coming off a missed cut, a 63rd place finish going into Phoenix. And I'm like, that's sort of the whole point. You're not supposed to peak in late January, early February. You're trying to build up. I think Jordan's done a very good job over the last couple of years of staying patient, of realizing that, look, for as much as I'd like to win every tournament that I want to play, let's just kind of build up to a crescendo. He started playing much better in Phoenix, tied for 6th this past weekend, and quite play his best golf on Sunday. But yes, Benny, I do like him this weekend. I like him at Augusta as well. So that's coming up. We're only less than
2
days
months
away. Yeah. We're getting there. So I like that a lot. All right, I'll get to the 12th hole here. Player that I just think is a great fit for Riviera. I don't know. I could be way off on this, but I wrote him up as a small outright play at 170-1. I'm going to play him here for a top 20 because in his rookie season, he is 8 of 8 making the cut and has 4 top 20 finishes. I know everyone's all over Taylor Montgomery for rookie of the year, but Thomas Detry is a supreme talent. This kid is really, really good. He's got 9 top 3 finishes on the DP World Tour in his career, where he's played most of his golf. You can question the win equity a little bit because he's never won over there. So I don't know that he's all of a sudden going to start winning here, especially against a big boy field like we have this week. But for a top 20, I think Thomas Detry is a really smart play this week.
Well, his World Cup winning partner, Thomas Pieters, loves Riviera, loves the joint, and will be giving him all sorts of insight for sure. That's no doubt about that. I'll throw you a long shot for the 13th hole. And this is just the Aussie in me thinking that why not throw some importance on winning the Australian Open. But Adrian Meronk from the DP World Tour is playing at 140, 150-1 this week. And yes, as I said, winner of the Aussie Open last year, 4th in the, Al Carmini Championship on the DP World Tour in his last start. I just saw that massive number and thought, here's a guy that's probably so massive because most people don't know who he is, and me included. When he won the Australian Open, I was asking people, who is this guy? And he's had form though leading. I should have paid more attention. Like, he's an up and comer there, and just like that number, 140. He could do something. He could surprise. I'm sure he won't be feeling intimidated at all.
He is, first of all, he's from Poland. He's the best Polish player that we've ever seen. He's 6'6", 6'7". I play with a buddy who's the same height. We call him Giraffe. I wonder if we can apply that nickname to Adrian Meronk, call him the Giraffe.
Sounds good to me.
Maybe the tallest guy in all of at least elite level professional golf. Although who's the dude who played? There's a guy that played in a few events last year or 2 years ago that's like 6'10", that hits it like 900 yards every time. But I don't know. The name escapes me. But
me too.
James something. I'm sure our listeners are yelling it at the podcast screen right now, telling us who it is. But in any case, at least Meronk is up there. We'll call him Adrian the Giraffe Meronk. But yes, I do like that. I think that the more he plays over here in the States, the better he's going to feel, the more comfortable he is. All right. Anyway, we get to the 14th hole, and you mentioned Adam Hadwin for that player market bet at 52nd or better. I've got the same bet with a different player, 52nd or better on Wyndham Clark. Wyndham Clark coming off a top 10 last week. He has played this event 3 times. Last year, he was DQ'd. He had a big score in the first round and signed an incorrect scorecard. But the previous 2 times he played, an 8th place to the 17th place. He has not finished outside the top 52 in his last 7 starts. This is just not something that Wyndham Clark does. This is a great number on him. I get it. All these player market bets at Bet365 are minus 120, so you're giving up a little juice, but this is a tremendous play on a guy who's playing some really good golf. Got some inside info on him the other day, and all I can tell you is he's mirroring some of the work that some of the game's top players are doing right now, and it's going to start working for him. He's going to start having some really good finishes very, very soon. Don't be surprised if Wyndham Clark is a PGA Tour champion by the time the summer is over.
Yeah, look, I can't disagree with you there, man. He is trending in the right direction, that's for sure. All right, 15th hole, sorry. Top 20 play for me. A guy that, again, fits the mold of these players that I've been talking it up, ball strikes, etc. around Riviera. I'm going to go with the guy who has been 5th and 4th in his previous starts, as a 68.38 scoring average around Riviera in his short career. Viktor Holland, plus 130 for a top 20. I think Victor's a chance to surprise, because he hasn't sort of kicked on since the Hero World Challenge. But again, Riviera brings out guys who can sort of come from nowhere, if you will, if they just have a good week. And I'm expecting Viktor to have one of those.
He's another guy I'm fading, Benny.
Fade him. I'll take you. Let's take it. You and me can go head to head.
I will take those. I will book those Fitzpatrick and Hovland bets that you're making, because I am just those are 2 guys that I like in general, but I am taking a wait and see approach, and I have off them until I see a little bit more from each of those guys.
I love it when we disagree. We finally got some action between each other.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially on a golf course with smaller greens where Victor's not going to hit 18 greens in regulation, so he's going to be chipping. And, we all know those wedges around the greens are not great. Yes,
I see him now hitting 18 greens in the first round. Thanks for that. Good work.
Okay, all right. He probably will. That's all right. I get to the 16th hole, and look, this is not a play of put all your money on this prop. It's just gotta look out. Here's a guy that you probably haven't even thought of. He probably hasn't even entered your consciousness in the last couple of years, but very, very gradually, Kevin Tway is starting to play some decent golf. I've always kind of liked his game.
Right.
He's a good win player. He's a guy that drives it really well. The game has been, quite honestly, very poor. Last year, he made 29 starts in the 2022 campaign and missed the cut in 20 of them, with only 2 finishes better than 25th or 30th, something like that. It wasn't very good. He's now played 5 events here in 2023. He's made the cut in 4 of them. I'm going Kevin Tway for a top 40. Again, this is less a put all your money on Kevin Tway and more a, hey, keep Kevin Tway just in the back of your mind moving forward. He's a guy that's still going to have a lot of value as he's starting to play better. These are guys that I like playing somewhere because the markets haven't quite caught up to their play. It's not like you went out and finished second last week and all of a sudden there's a huge market correction. It's like there was an 18th, there was a 35th. The odds makers aren't really clamming onto that, the fact that he's starting to play some good golf. So again, just a guy to keep in mind, maybe for DFS or some other purposes there. But he's a guy that I very, very, cautiously like moving forward.
All right. Hey, look, I can't. If you've done the work, you've done the legwork, you've done the research, or we'll see how it rolls. 17th hole, my outright winners coming up. Look, haven't mentioned Jon Rahm, haven't mentioned Scheffler, haven't mentioned Finau, haven't mentioned Rory, haven't mentioned Cantlay, all of which I think can win this week.
Sure.
So look, don't think that I'm off any of those big names, but there is just a number out there that I cannot ignore. That is Adam Scott. You mentioned him earlier in the podcast, but at the number he's on, the fact that Riviera is legitimately, potentially his absolute favorite course on the tour, definitely regular tour event. It's his favorite course that's out there. He's a winner of it twice, although once officially. He'll tell me when people tell him the other one was unofficial. Well, what's the trophy in my trophy cabinet? And the check, the money, I kind of spent the money that I was given. So he calls it official in his own mind. Look, what was it? 55 to 1? 55 to 1, Adam Scott. Is ridiculously good money for a guy who, by the way, too, chose not to play in the designated event last week to be ready for Riviera. So while everyone else was going through all the chaos and everything else that was happening out there, Adam was just honing in his game, getting ready. No doubt, I haven't like got to him this week, but probably was here early, throwing a few rounds out there, getting situated. Yeah, look, it's just a great number. I know it's an awesome field, and those 5 names I rattled off, including Cantlay, who, again, if you want to go back to the well, missing the cut was probably a bonus for him going into this week. I just think Adam's got that number. What, 3 top 7s in his last 4 starts there, plus all the top 10s you mentioned before. One of them a win. Adam Scott for me.
So 2 things. First of all, there is no tournament that fits Adam Scott as well as this tournament. Secondly, there's no tournament that doesn't fit him more than the Phoenix Open that we saw last week. Not a surprise that we did not see Adam Scott there. I can't imagine that being Adam's cup of tea, so to speak. And also, by the way, I was looking at the PGA Tour database because you're right. That win in 2005 is considered unofficial. So it only shows him having 1 win and not 2. Yet in the same database, it lists that as a top 10 finish, which is very, very strange. It's an official top 10, but an unofficial win. I don't understand it. Adam doesn't understand it, but that's the way it is. All right. 18th hole, Benny. I did some research. Hey. I know you only saw me hanging out and we're walking the golf course and we're playing craps at night and we're having dinners and we're going out and doing stuff. In between all that, somewhere, I did some research because I wanted to try to separate Scheffler, Rahm, and Rory. I wanted to find some differential between them because I think you look at all 3 and you go, I don't know, Scotty's good, John's good, Rory's good. One of them might win. Well, I went and did some research and I found the splits between the 3 of them. First of all, Scotty Scheffler, since the beginning of last year, he has made 14 starts coming off a bye week, coming off an off week. All 5 of his wins have been coming off an off week. He has 0 wins when he's playing the second week of a back-to-back. Now, his top 10 percentage, his average finish, they're about the same, but that is pretty telling that he has won all 5 of his titles when he had the week previously off. Now, let's look at Jon Rahm. Jon Rahm, 20 starts globally, coming off a bye week. All 5 of his wins in the past 14 months have occurred coming off a bye week. 14 top 10s and 20 starts. Average finish, 11.6. When he's playing a back-to-back, 7 starts, no wins, 3 top 10s, average finish, 20.6, 9 spots worse on the leaderboard. All right, you think, okay, that's a trend. All the top players are like that. No, not necessarily. Rory McIlroy, coming off a bye week, 15 starts, 2 wins, 9 top 10s, average finish, 16.9. Pretty good. On the second week of a back-to-back, Rory's made 9 starts since the beginning of last year, also has 2 wins and 6 fewer starts, 7 top 10s, a much higher top 10 percentage, average finish of 8.4, twice as good as when he has the week off beforehand. What does it all tell us? Well, first of all, it tells us that maybe Scotty and Jon Rahm are doing a little bit better prep on their bye weeks, but it also tells us that Rory sort of needs to get those juices flowing a little bit before he plays. It also tells us that if you're going to pick one of them this week, it should probably be the guy who fares the best on the second week of a back-to-back. That's Rory McIlroy. That's the reason I'm going after him this week. Don't love the number at 10 to 1, but look, that's where good players are. That's what they're listed at. And I like Rory this week. I think it's going to be a big boy golf course, going to be a big boy winner. We're not going to see some 80 to 1 win a designated event for a little while now. Give me Rory McIlroy this week, Ben.
Look, I love it. I love that you've gone down that hole because, I could have been convinced on Rory based on one thing. And that was, we learned just reading between the lines last week that he wasn't fully engaged last week. He wasn't there with his best mindset, with his best stuff. And that has kept him somewhat rested. And if you will, he's literally almost used it as a lead-in event to this one. He has got the reps out. He is getting the swing juices flowing. Also loves Riviera and has had chances there before. 2 top 5s and a top 10 in recent memory that I can think of. So I'm not going to argue against you. As I said, for me, when we do this pod, as you know, I tend to try to go from the bottom up, find us a good number, pick it that way. But you and I talked about this watching Schauffele win. Like, he was a short number at the beginning because he's a good player, and he won. So you just, we love getting the good action. We love the numbers, but you can't ignore the guys at the top because the cream does rise most of the time.
Yep. So that's it. 18 holes, 18 bets for this week's Genesis Invitational. One more reminder, the Links and Locks podcast is proudly presented by Bet365, the world's favorite sportsbook brand. Sign up with promo code ACTION, ACTION, to get Bet365's exclusive sign-up offer in New Jersey and Colorado. Bet $1 on any game. Get $200 for free. Thanks to everybody out there for listening to this episode of the Links and Locks Best Bets podcast. Remember, you can find us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Download, subscribe, rate, and listen every single week during the PGA Tour season. For Ben Everill, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your bets for this week's Genesis Invitational. Here's hoping you hit the green.